Now I want to demonstrate something else here with this loop. We can also write an if statement inside this loop, of course, and check if, let's say, I equals 1. If I equals 1, then I will print 1. So now if I execute this, we of course see 1. We have some keywords we can use in loops as well. So let's say I'm removing this log and I put this after this if statement again and I just print out I. But now, here, if I equals 1, I'll use the break keyword. What do you think we'll now see if I hit run? We just see 0. Because 0 is the initial value, this if statement isn't triggered, and therefore we print 0. Now I is incremented and therefore 1, so we get inside this if statement. And as with the switch statement, break tells JavaScript to exit out of the current control structure, so out of this loop here. On the other hand, what happens if I type continue here? Let's see what happens if I hit run now. I get 0, 2, 3, 4. So 1 is not printed out. The reason for this is that if I equals 1, we immediately continue with the next iteration, and the code after this here is no longer executed, but only for the current iteration, of course. So we're not skipping out of the complete control structure like we did with break. We're only finishing the current iteration and tell JavaScript continue with the next one. That's all nice, but what happens if I have a loop inside a loop? So I'll add my loop from before again. And I'll take all that code and put it inside here. Or that should actually stay outside. So if I hit run now, what do you think will happen? Well, I still see all these values. And why is this happening? Because this continue statement here, which is triggered if I is 1, which certainly is the case upon the second iteration, will only refer to this inner loop. So this inner loop will continue, which doesn't really matter because we weren't executing code here anyways. So if I print something here inside inner loop, j equals, and then j, and we can combine a string and a number by adding a plus sign between string and number variable, by the way. Or we can add any variable, not just numbers like this. So we can combine a string and a variable by adding plus and can print this out. So what do you think will happen now if I hit run? Okay, we get the inner loop, j equals 0, and so on. And then we print 0. But notice that we then only print 1. So for the case that I is 1, this part here is never executed, which is why we have this gap here where we're missing this output. So continue refers to the inner loop. What happens if I type break here? Let me clear this. What do you think we'll see? It's the same behavior. We're breaking out of the inner loop, not of the loop overall, not of the outer loop, just of the inner loop. So that's important to understand that continue and break only refer to the loop in which they are written, not to any other wrapping loops you might have around them.